Hello there. Welcome back to my Transgender Nation. I'm your host, Jessica. Today we are on episode 10 of my telling my story, Jessica's story. When I left off last, I was talking about all the people in my life and when I came out and how they reacted, family and friends. And before I move on, it was a couple of people I left out, and gosh, that's just not right to leave them out. Definitely not. So I'm going to bring that up before I move on. So I talked about my sisters and cousins and all that, but I left out my aunt and uncle, my mother's brother and sister. Now, my uncle has since passed, but my aunt's still around. And my uncle was in his 90s, early 90s when he passed away just recently. And my aunt is in her upper 80s. And when I first came out, I was deathly afraid to tell either one of them. You know, my parents are both deceased, so, you know, those two are like the last people I have left from the old generation, if you will. But I knew I had to do it, so I told my uncle first. And I had a great relationship with my uncle. He and I spent a lot of time kayaking together, hiking together, just a great relationship. So I went over to his house when I told him, and he said, "So tell me, are you happy?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm very happy." He goes, "Well, good. Let's go kayaking." And that was all that was ever said between the two of us. And he treated me as his relative with full support ever after that, which it was great. My aunt was as wonderful when I told her. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a little anecdote. My aunt lives down south, but a good part of her family lives up here. So in the summertime, now and again, she'll come up and visit. And she was at my cousin's house, and I was invited to come over for lunch. So, and this was a few years ago, but after I've transitioned, after I started actually looking halfway decent, and I was dressed up for work, and I pay attention to how I dress. So at lunchtime, in my work outfit, I went to my cousin's house, and I'm sitting in my cousin's kitchen at the table with my aunt, and we're talking away, and I'm telling her some story. And she's looking at me and is like, I said, something's up here. So she stops me in my conversation and she puts her hand on my knee and she goes, "I have to tell you something." I'm like, "Okay, what?" I'm like so nervous, like, what is this going to be? And she says, "You have your mother's style." And oh my God, did that make me feel like $1 million. When I was growing up, my mother, I always thought my mother had great style. And you have to remember, in my head, I always wanted to be a woman. And my mother was one of the people that I looked at, that I wanted to emulate how she looked. And she grew up in the age of, emulating Jackie Onassis, Jackie Kennedy. And she looked a lot like her, actually. She was dark-haired and thin like her, but she had a really, really, really good sense of style. And my aunt compared me to her. To me, that was like the best compliment that she could have ever paid me. All right, so those are the two I missed out on my last conversation, and I wanted to add to the mix. So there you go. I've added it now. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about what came next. So when we were telling the timeline, the last place we left off was that I had started full time. I had gotten my nails done. I had gotten my ears pierced. So what came next, and in short order too, was getting my voice surgery done. And that came in February of 2016. So I'm going to pop a picture up here and show you the after look of that surgery on the inside. So what they do is they actually stitch your vocal cords up, and they put just a couple of stitches in it. Now this first surgery that I had on my voice is, they call it the triple play. So they do three things. They went in both this way and down here, but they shaved my Adam's apple. You can't even tell I have an Adam's apple anymore. It's gone. And then there's a thing that slides up and down, and they actually fuse that so that doesn't move anymore, because I guess that doesn't happen with females. So they did that, and then they also stitched up the vocal cords. So that was the triple play. Now, unfortunately, after surgery, when you can't talk for 2 weeks after you have this surgery, so I didn't. And then when I started to talk, I sounded like Minnie Mouse. My voice was so high. Oh, it made me laugh. But then in short order, I don't know, it was from coughing or whatever it was, I broke the stitches. And basically the vocal cords went back to their original position, and my voice dropped right back down. So when you go for the follow-up meeting with the doctor, and I did this surgery in Rochester, New York, and which is a 6-hour drive from where I live. And so I drove back up for the follow-up, and basically he goes, "Oh, the stitches look good and everything," and he takes a something that numbs your parts, and then he puts a scope down and actually looks down in at where the stitches had been. He goes, "Yeah, the stitches popped." And I said, "Okay, what do we do now?" He goes, "Well, you could redo the surgery." I said, "Okay." He goes, "Well, that'll cost you X $1,000s. I said, "What, you're not going to just redo it? Your surgery failed." "Oh, no, it doesn't work that way." Well, needless to say, I never went back to that surgeon again. So I went on for quite a while with a better looking neck, but with still having the deep voice. So from there, I had planned my facial surgery. I was moving at warp speed with all of this, as I think I told you. So the next surgery that I did was my face surgery, and that was in late June of the same year. So I banged surgeries out back to back here. Now the face surgery, oh boy, this one was the biggie. This one was an 11.5-hour surgery. And I'll start at the bottom and work my way up. So I had a chin reduction. I had a lip raise. I had cheek implants. I had rhinoplasty with your nose. I had the bags below my eyes removed, the bags above my eyes removed. Across the top of your head, they actually cut across from ear to ear, pull your forehead basically off, and they shave your forehead to adjust the angle of your forehead. So forehead shave, and then I did a facelift and a neck lift. All of those, one surgery, 11.5 hours. And as I'm talking, I'm putting up a few pictures for you to see of this surgery. And I have to say, the first 2-3 days after that surgery, I wanted to die. I was in such pain. Oh, it was horrific pain. But after those 3 days, like I turned a corner and I was like, oh, I can do this, no big deal. And within probably 2 weeks, I was out on the beach, covered up because they didn't want me to get sun on my face and stuff. But yeah, I recovered quickly from that. I really did. And it made a major change in the way my face looked, which was what I was hoping for. I would have gone a little bit farther in a couple spots. I would have made my chin a little smaller and my nose a little smaller. But other than that, I was very, very pleased with how all that turned out. So those were the first 2 surgeries that I did. And not much more in surgeries. We're going to talk about going back and doing voice surgery and the gender surgery, which is, I guess, the biggest surgery a person could have. I'll talk in our next segment, which I will do soon. I won't wait as long this time. Okay? All right. I think we went far enough today. I greatly appreciate your time. I hope you're enjoying these videos. I would love feedback. Please let me know if there's things that you would like to hear me talk about in these videos that I am not talking about. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to our channel. Once we finish this series of me telling my story, I'm going to start some interviews. And those are going to be a little more, they're going to be fun. I've got some really interesting ideas on where to go with interviews. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in our next visit. All right? All right. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for your time today. Talk to you soon.